Hamza Abdelkarim.
Bona, ha relliscat la defensa, el primer del Barça el fa el Pichichi de l'estiu, el fa Hamza Abdelkarim, després de la...
Ibrahima Tankara. Bissiwou.
Pista belga, Dani Olmo, esperant socis, no li entra ningú per la dreta, però ha enviat una excel·lent pilota per
Barca once again have a new batch of youngsters who look incredibly talented, and 4 specific players have stood out. Hamza Abdelkarim, Ibrahima Tankara, Bissiwou and Xavi Espart. 4 completely different players from completely different backgrounds, but all of them are trying to be the next kid that Flick randomly throws into the first team and somehow looks like he's been playing there for years. There were so many questions about Barca's lack of a striker, but it seems like they have discovered an absolute gem when it comes to Hamza. Now, usually top Barca youngsters come from La Masia, but not Hamza. He was born in Cairo in 2008, spent parts of his childhood playing football in Malaysia, and then returned to Egypt where he joined Al Ahly's academy in 2020. And he developed really quickly because by February of 2025, Hamza was making his senior debut for Al Ahly at just 17 years old, becoming their youngest player of the 21st century. Then he started getting attention with Egypt's under-17s, scored twice at the under-17 Africa Cup of Nations, and suddenly, European clubs started looking at him. Feyenoord wanted him, Sporting and Bologna were interested, but Barca moved first. They initially brought him to Barca Athletic on loan in February of 2026, and after a few months decided they'd seen enough. He was already better than Ferran Torres. I'm joking, by the way, maybe a little bit. Barca paid around 1.5 million euros to make the deal permanent, and Hansi Flick brought him into the first team for preseason. Hamza is interesting because he doesn't really look like a typical Barca youngster. He's around 6 feet tall, strong, and actually plays like a proper number 9. He wants to occupy the center backs, he can receive the ball with someone on his back, he's dangerous in the air, and most importantly, this guy loves being inside the box. He's constantly looking for that little movement across the defender at the front post, or waiting for a loose ball to drop. His link-up play still needs work, and obviously he's nowhere near the complete player that he can be, but he's already shown flashes that he can score goals. Against Birmingham City in preseason, he scored twice.
de l'Al-Ahly a l'internacional egipci, Abdelkarim, cap a dins! Gol, 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 gol.
Veient avui, per exemple, i evidentment això ha augmentat, compte.
El xut de Rooney, Hamza Abdelkarim, que acaba de firmar un doblet. No un, dos n'ha fet l'Egipte.
Then against Basel.
Ja posarà la centrada, pilota desviada i gol!
I és el que dèiem, sobretot, Hamza porta 2 accions de davanter.
El Barça al marcador, els 3 de la segona meitat, gol de Hamza Abdelkarim.
Ves cap a dintre de Yemi, busca, fixa.
Flick brought him on at halftime and it took him about 3 minutes to score again. And he even scored against his former club.
Bona, ha relliscat la defensa, el primer del Barça el fa el Pichichi de l'estiu, el fa Hamza Abdelkarim.
Talk about the perfect time to show your ability. Lewandowski is gone, Ferran Torres has gone to the PSG bench, so Barca don't have any actual number 9s. Obviously, that doesn't mean that Flick is just going to hand a teenager the starting striker spot tomorrow, but Hamza gives him something different. The next player is Ibrahima Tankara, and he is from Barca's child labor factory, La Masia. Ibrahima Tankara was born in the Gambia in 2010, moved to Spain, and joined La Masia during the 2018-2019 season. And ever since then, Tankara has regularly played 2 or 3 years above his age. In February of 2026 was the under-17 Euros. Remember, Tankara was still only 16 years old, playing against guys who were mostly older than him. He finished the tournament with 4 assists, created 23 chances, and was named the player of the tournament. When you actually watch him play, you understand the hype pretty quickly. Tankara is left-footed and can play as a number 10. He can play through the middle or out wide. But I think the most interesting thing about him is how comfortable he looks when he receives the ball in congested areas. You can fire a ball into him between 3 players and he doesn't panic. He can receive it with someone on his back, turn away from pressure, and immediately start carrying the ball forward. We saw that multiple times in the preseason game versus Birmingham City. He's also really strong for his age, so defenders can't just bully him off the ball because he's some young La Masia kid. Then once he turns, he has the vision to actually punish you. He can slip passes through a low block, combine quickly around the box, or carry the ball himself. And that's why Flick brought him into the first team preseason. He got minutes against senior oppositions, and he looked super comfortable, which is kind of crazy because this kid was born after Modern Warfare 2 was released. I'm getting old, guys. Obviously, Barca need to be careful with him. We've already seen what happens when every talented youngster gets treated like they're supposed to immediately become the next big thing. He's also still very raw. He still needs to improve his decision making, his positioning, if he wants to contribute regularly to the first team. Tankara will probably spend a lot of time with Barca Athletic and in the youth league, but purely in terms of ceiling, this guy might be the most exciting player in the group. Then there's Bissiwou, and unlike Tankara, he didn't come from La Masia. He came through Club Brugge's academy in Belgium and spent last season playing senior football for Club NXT in the Belgian 2nd Division. He made 15 appearances and started 13 of them, which is pretty impressive considering he was only 17 years old. Barca clearly saw something they really liked because they spent around 8.5 million euros to sign him this summer, and you understand why they did that when you watch him play. Bissiwou is the opposite of those wingers that receive the ball, go backwards, and start orgasming over their high passing completion rate. He's not Jack Grealish. This guy wants to attack you. He's naturally a left winger and his biggest strength is his one-on-one ability. Give him the ball near the touchline with a defender standing in front of him and he's going directly at that guy. Step overs, quick changes of direction. He'll use everything and then suddenly explode past you. He's already pretty strong as well, so even when defenders get close to him, he's difficult to knock off the ball. And unlike some wingers who can only beat you on the outside, Bissiwou can cut onto his right foot very easily and shoot as well. We saw that against Basel in preseason.
Olmo. Oh, klasse Zuspiel von Olmo. War No-Look und das ist sensationell. Bissiwou. Ein Prachttreffer von Barca.
Und der Bissiwou immerhin doch mit 2 Treffern.
And I think that's what makes him such an interesting player for Barcelona. Barca have plenty of players who want the ball to feed, to combine. Sometimes you need a winger who receives it and immediately decides he's gonna ruin the fullback's day. Bissiwou gives Flick that, but he's still very raw. His decision making needs to improve, he needs to understand when to dribble and when to release the ball. And playing under Flick also means that he has to learn exactly when to press and where to be positioned without the ball. But Barca clearly want to develop him themselves. Olympiacos reportedly tried to take him on loan after his performances in preseason, and Barca rejected it. So he'll probably spend time between Barca Athletic and the first team. But if Flick needs someone off the bench who can come on against tired fullbacks and immediately start causing problems, Bissiwou might already have a role. And then there's Xavi Espart. And unlike Hamza and Bissiwou, Xavi Espart has spent his entire footballing career at Barcelona. He's from Barcelona, joined La Masia when he was 8 years old, and gradually worked his way through every age group. He helped Juvenil A, which is the under-19 youth team, win the treble in 2024-2025. Then he recovered from a pretty serious knee injury and eventually became one of the captains for Barca Athletic. Then Flick started giving him opportunities. Last season, Xavi Espart made his first team debut, played in La Liga, and even got minutes in both legs of Barcelona's Champions League tie against Newcastle. Then during the summer, he went away with Spain's under-19s, won the Euros, and spent a lot of that tournament playing in midfield. We even saw Flick use him in midfield in the game versus Al Ahly. And because he has spent so much time playing in the midfield, he looks super comfortable when Flick asks him to invert. He's essentially a midfielder who happens to start the game standing near the touchline. When Barca have possession, Espart is comfortable moving inside and playing next to the midfielders. He can receive the ball under pressure, play through the lines, help control possession. Then when Barca lose the ball, you have an extra central player that can stop the transitions, or at least slow them down. His biggest strength is his brain, his footballing IQ. He understands where he needs to stand and where the next pass needs to go. And apparently Flick likes him so much that he's even compared aspects of his game to Philipp Lahm. Lahm was also a fullback who could move into midfield and look completely comfortable doing it. For Flick's Barca, that's extremely useful because if Espart moves inside during possession, he can give Barca another midfielder while someone like Yamal stays wide and higher up the pitch. He got plenty of opportunities during preseason and Flick clearly liked what he saw. Real Oviedo reportedly asked about taking him on loan, but Barca decided to keep him around the first team setup. And out of all these youngsters, Espart might actually be the easiest one to imagine getting regular minutes immediately. Not necessarily because he has the highest ceiling, but because he's already played senior football, he understands the system, and he can cover multiple positions. The interesting thing about all four of these players is that each of them give Flick something different. Hamza is the number 9, Tankara is the creative midfielder, Bissiwou is the winger who wants to attack everyone, and Xavi Espart is the guy who can play right back and midfield. So these guys are not really competing against each other. They're competing for completely different opportunities in the first team. If Espart becomes a reliable first team squad player, that's valuable. If Bissiwou becomes a dangerous winger, that's valuable. If Hamza develops into a proper Barca number 9, you've potentially saved yourself 70 million euros in today's market at a minimum. And if Tankara becomes anywhere close to the player people inside La Masia think he can become, then Barca might have found another ridiculous midfielder before he's even old enough to legally buy a beer. That's why La Masia and youth development is so important. Barca can spend years not being able to spend, but still bring a kid out of nowhere to help the first team. Now, to see just how good the first team for Barca actually is, you have to watch this video right here.